Hello and welcome to Talk Story to Me. My husband James is going to be joining us today to talk about Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Which is a movie that we've been looking forward to for quite some time, and we decided we were going to make it an event. There's really not that much to do around here, so we actually got all dressed up and we went to go see the movie, which was absolutely delightful. But James would like to say a few words about his personal background with Doctor Strange before we get into this.
Yes, so since it's tradition to name biases about the movies or works we're reviewing up front, my bias is that Doctor Strange is one of my favorite Marvel characters ever. I've been waiting for this movie to come out since they announced the Marvel cast movies coming out. I'm looking forward to this, and so I had a lot of high expectations, and so I'm looking forward to digging my teeth into this review.
So, all in all, it was a really fun movie. My bias is I really like Marvel movies, and I think that that's probably enough now to be a full-fledged bias. I go into one expecting it to be pretty good, and this one definitely was. In fact, I would go as far as to say this is probably one of my top favorite Marvel movies. Really enjoyed the character of Doctor Strange. I'm not that familiar with the comics, but I liked what I saw here. It was a lot of fun. This story was very much the classic hero's journey. And if you know that story, you're not going to be, the beats that are supposed to come from it. It really matched up with those. And it's an origin story, which in this case, usually I'm a little tired of origin stories, but here I was glad that we got to find out where he was from and what his backstory is, because I think most people really aren't that familiar with Doctor Strange.
Yes, I imagine there were a few, or more than a few, nerds like me who would love that origin story. But yeah, as far as most of the other crossovers with the Avengers in the comics, Doctor Strange wasn't as more highlighted, even when he made guest appearances in the 1990s animated Spider-Man series.
So what this particular movie did really well, I thought, was with the creation of the characters. Benedict Cumberbatch as Dr. Stephen Strange. He does a really good job with the character. He does a good, I believe he's supposed to be a Midwestern accent.
Yes.
The story kind of reminded me, what if House had an accident, and instead of it being his leg, it was his hands, and then House becomes all magical and metaphysical. But the acting in it was really, really good all the way through. I think everybody threw themselves into it, and that was a lot of fun to see. A lot of actors who we've seen in different pieces of work. That was good.
Yes.
And now I will say the story is a little bit slower than some of the other Marvel stories, so for younger kids that might be more difficult. I didn't mind the slower pacing since they were using it to set up character and let us know this is who Doctor Strange is, this is who he is, this is how he's changing, and these are the important character traits that you need to know so that you understand how he's able to resolve the problems at the end. Mm-hmm. And it's very much one of those stories where, look, there's the gun, there is the gun, and it is now going to be used over here for this resolution. And it kind of made me laugh when I was watching it, and I want to watch it again, because, yes, the smoking gun, and I can see all of the writing points as they're being hit, and Thor. Here, take the pen. Okay, you ready? Go get it. You can go off the camera now.
Go on, Big Fuzzy.
Anyway, what I will say this movie excels at is the visuals. It was a little bit difficult to think while watching this movie. So I would like to see it again just because it really overwhelms the senses. We did see it in 3D, and that was a good call.
Yes. Yeah, you've got the different dimensions moving sideways, outward, inward, playing with reality, what was possible, where everybody's footing was supposed to go, especially the opening fight sequence within the first 5 minutes of the movie. It was so well choreographed. You've got the characters moving, changing directions. First, gravity is up and down, and then it goes sideways, and then buildings are folding in on each other. And all this, of course, while you've got everybody casting their spells, creating weapons, going at each other with a little mystical kung fu in there. And then, of course, you've got Jadis, the White Witch, in the fight scene with these other sorcerers. It's phenomenal, well choreographed, and it gets the movie off to a really strong start, even before Doctor Strange even sets foot on screen.
Yeah, there were a lot of sequences where I was sitting there thinking, you just need to really commend the artists for this, because they make you feel like you're in another world, another dimension, and it kind of, I got a little bit of vertigo at a couple points just watching, and it's watching some of the sequences. I was a little dizzy at points. It was excellent, and I hope to see more of that. Although I will say, this movie, the other thing they do that's really cool with this is it's not just the origin story for Doctor Strange. They're also doing something of an origin story for another character, and they bring in, and you can see the sequel practically building itself as this is continuing on. So that was kind of cool, even though you can see that coming together. And no, we won't give spoilers. I'll try not to.
Right.
Yeah, so great visuals, great acting. The tension, once it gets going, is good. And also, there is such, I think when it comes to young kids, they might be a little bored by some of the parts where, it is focusing on character development, it is letting us
Which is often a shortcoming for superhero-type movies, but this one handled it very, very well.
Well, the other thing is, there's sort of some pink elephant on parade moments.
Yes,
in this movie. So I'm just trying to think, if I was a little kid, some of the scenes when the Ancient One, particularly when she punches Doctor Strange into his astral form, and he starts sliding through these dimensions, and you get to see some of that. And then another point when they are battling and they go into the mirror dimension, which is handled really intriguingly. I think as a kid that might be a little bit terrifying to see. But other than that, and it's more of just that unsettling, like, do I look at this with wonder or horror? What am I supposed to do? And please don't put your children on Benadryl or Dimetapp if you're going to show this to them. Also, don't be doing drugs anyway. If they're illegal where you are, please don't. And I don't recommend drinking to intoxication with this movie because it messes with your head when you're sober. So, you don't need anything to help you go for a strange ride on this movie. Go ahead.
And actually, quickly, speaking of Strange, jumping back to the casting for this movie, phenomenal casting. Benedict Cumberbatch as Doctor Strange, it really captures the character, which for me is a step in the direction showing this actor did well, because my first choice if I had been casting would have almost been the guy who played the assassin in Lost, who later went on to play Jafar in Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. Anderson, I believe his last name is. Anyway, so yeah, I was almost envisioning him as Doctor Strange, and portraying that almost that dealing with a darker, more sinister edge to him. But then I see the way that they put this together for Marvel, and I said, okay, well done on the acting. I would have liked to have seen that other version, but this version, I'm more than 100% behind.
And maybe we will in the future.
Maybe.
They're redoing everything nowadays.
That is true.
In terms of weaknesses in the movie, and this is where James and I do disagree a little bit. Alright, it's my usual. Villains need backstories too. Mads Mikkelsen plays Casilicus, and he is the most visible of the antagonists, and then Dormammu is the big bad. Now, little bit of a spoiler here. I don't know. I think I can say this in such a way that it isn't. We get a couple lines telling us why Casilicus is doing what he's doing. However, there's not much, and it's really not entirely clear what does he think he is going to gain from this. Because there's about 3 or 4 different ways that I could see him being motivated to do this. Now, Mads Mikkelsen does an excellent job portraying the character. He nails that smoky eye look with a little bit of sparkle in there. Yeah. And it's still scary. But what is missing from this character is, okay, so we get one line of reason for why, and then, nope, he's off. He's going to do this thing that this probably isn't too much of a spoiler, but they want to invite this entity in to that will will devour everything. It's going to give everyone immortality by eating everyone, and they can become part of the one. And Doctor Strange is quite inquisitive, which I like about the character. I enjoy the fact that he is so questioning. I think I sympathize with that.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, it's sacred. Ask questions of everything. Ask them everything. And they didn't ask enough questions for my liking in this, because that's an important question. If you are truly grieving and if you are truly feeling loss, is it that you want to join with the oneness because you feel like then you will be one with the ones that you have lost? Or is it because you just think life sucks and you want everyone else to join you in your absolute misery? Abject misery, but I don't know. I wanted more from that, but and there was something of a feel of, this is a placeholder villain. You know how sometimes you bring in a villain whose purpose is to allow the hero to heal and to learn and to develop? That's kind of what's happening here. It's what it seemed like. And there's another relationship that is being built up for a much, much bigger fight.
Something that possibly movies like Suicide Squad could have benefited from.
Yeah, and so I don't dislike it for that, but I did want to. I just want a little bit more. Answer my questions. Answer my questions.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yes, you may go.
Right. So I, on the other hand, I felt that I had enough information from what was given that because we're seeing this all from Doctor Strange's perspective, that if he doesn't know the answer to some things, then it makes sense that we don't either, especially since there's so much that's already being handled, trying to be explained. The mechanics of this sphere of the Marvel universe when it's part of an existing universe already. So I thought that I had enough that I needed from Kaselicus to know, okay, he's experienced loss, he's turning that loss into doing things that are going to be bad for the rest of us. That's what we need from the villain. Okay, now let's follow Doctor Strange, who's the more interesting character.
Villains have backstories too. I just wanted 3 lines. I just needed a few questions answered. I would have probably gotten myself feeling like, no, seriously, hold on, please don't try to kill me. But I need you to answer these 3 questions for me, please. That's all I'm asking. I need knowledge. Anyway.
Yes.
So I think that was a weak point. The other weak point I would say, and again we disagree on this point, world building. I want to know, what is their standard for determining that this is a physical threat or a threat from another dimension, somewhat quasi-spiritual? I mean, because the Chitauri have ripped open a hole in New York and they are pouring in, and the Ancient One is, no, that's not that big of a deal. Sure, their leader might have sorcery. Sure, this might be involved with Thanos, but it's none of our concern. I just think that there needs to be some sort of a standard that it's explained, and particularly since there are headquarters in New York City, London, and Hong Kong, and Thor too. Again, Ancient One, did you not know there was a convergence happening? I'm pretty sure that the convergence, and Malekith is trying to bring everyone into the darkness, and here we have the dark dimension again. First of all, how many dark places are there that are going to try to take over the Earth?
Well, in a multiverse, there's probably a lot, but
probably
continue.
So. But my issue is, it's like, oh, none of that is good enough to get your attention. None of that. Oh, please.
And on the one hand, I can sympathize with you, since after just having been in New York and realizing that the traditional sanctum sanctorum of Doctor Strange was in Greenwich, which isn't that far from Manhattan, and when there's a big hole in the sky, you can see an army invading. I have my own personal theories about what was going on behind the scenes that could explain what was going on, but I'm going to wait to see if Marvel follows the same line of thinking that I do and not hand them anything. So, but all that to say that part of my take on this is that I didn't need that explained, at least not with this movie. Now, when they merge the Doctor Strange and the rest of the characters together, then an explanation, one sentence here or there, can be thrown in, and that would be enough for me.
See.
Yes, asking questions. Comfortable in recognizing the limits of the questions that can be answered.
I want to know everything, for one thing. Another one being, these are weaknesses. They are not necessarily, I don't know that they're necessarily flaws, because it is possible that they will take this and expand on it and answer these questions, and it will turn out, there was some sort of metric by which they determined whether or not this is an interdimensional threat or a quasi-spiritual threat or a physical threat, or maybe they were doing something that we couldn't see. I mean, I don't know. But I have questions that need answering. But with that said, really it was a lot of fun watching the movie, and even seeing how visual effects have moved forward in this. The astral forms when they are on the astral plane, really cool. Like, one of the things that's fascinating is that there are these moments where you have more than one, and they are interacting in some way. And you know how most of the time in movies, if you have this one transparent person in front of another transparent person, but you can only see the one transparent person and not the other one, this time you could see through the one into the other. There was all sorts of detail like that. And I appreciated that. The music was really great in this. It's going to go onto my writing inspiration list. And yeah, it was a very satisfying story too, a satisfying hero's journey. And I need to watch it again too, because like I said, that I don't, it's more of a reflection on me, because it's a little bit hard to really break down the story completely when you're sitting there going, okay, I will never do drugs ever. I love the end, how they actually show one of Doctor Strange's, whether it's his critical flaw or one of his strengths is debatable depending on how it goes, and the way that it comes together with his tenacity. I liked how they played with that. That was great.
Yeah, that was a tricky part once that scene came up, and I'm thinking, oh wait, is this what they've really been building to? Please let them do something clever with it. Thankfully they did, because this would have been very tempting to allow it to have been very Deus Ex Machina and make the victory almost too easy. But looking at the way that they handled it, it wasn't about the power that Doctor Strange gained access to, it was about how he used it. And that how he used it was very, very clever. And so it was, even though it was on some rocky ground where for me it was the most problematic area of the movie, they still pulled it out very well, and so it's not enough to come walking away. Yeah, you don't walk away with a sour taste in your mouth. It's like, oh, okay, I feel that everything has been that things were accomplished. There's things to look forward to. We've seen the journey. We've moved. This character has moved from where they started to a better place, and is now ready to take on the bigger challenges once the upcoming movies are released.
And it's painful. It's not too easy. I mean, watching the way they handle it's like easy. Oh goodness, that hurts. That
was part of the creativity of how they did it.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying, is what keeps it from seeming too easy is just how excruciatingly painful this ends up being. For him, not for us. I mean, we're watching it and going,
yeah. Like, ooh, oh no. Again.
It's one of those, so that sucks to be you. Yeah. I will say, I wanted to ask some questions of Dormammu as well. Because another entity, like, just all-encompassing darkness. I mean, first of all, why? Why does he want Earth?
Why does the darkness exist? To be dark!
But no, we can't just accept that. I want to talk to Dormammu and get some solid answers. Like, what, and what was he doing? It's like we see him, it's like Sauron and Thanos and Azog merged into one psychedelic purple-black creation face with dreadlocks?
Yeah.
He had dreadlocks, didn't he? Or were those just ripples?
It was hard to tell.
Face?
Those were ripples, yeah. And since I made a comment about this when we did either privately or on the review of this for Batman vs. Superman, that basically I do have to comment on this now, is that I grew up with the traditional depiction of Dormammu where it's a humanoid head but with unquenchable fire that comes out of it with his cape drawn up. And so with this very, alien, fearsome looking depiction, so almost like the Headless Horseman, only scarier. And so when this depiction came out, I'm still digesting whether it's an improvement, a drawback, or if it's just different. Because you definitely get the dark motif. But as far as from that, there's other aspects to them artistically that they look very psychedelic. They're moving in the background. It fits with the rest of the theme that they've developed, but it's partially void. There's a lot of stuff you can't make out, and a lot of aspects of the dark dimension that are that aren't as well explained as maybe they could be. But again, I'm still working on that. I'll need to go see it again to see if maybe there are some other details in the side that maybe give some kind of a clue, or if it's just it's a dark dimension. It's going to destroy the way life is. The way we life have it now is good, and that way would be terrible for X, Y, and Z, which they actually do spell out, and I do appreciate that.
But why does the dark dimension want to eat our world, and how does it eat our world? We see lots of explosions, and then we see like the evil Who puffs coming down. I just find myself, and then I also think how bored these entities must be. If all they want to do is consume and conquer, what are they going to do when they get everything?
Right, and you definitely got that with Thanos in Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, he was just so bored with the constant incompetencies of his underlings that he barely gets out of his chair. Like, he didn't even bother about the Avengers battle until that battle was over. I mean, you really gotta wonder, wow, what does this guy do to occupy his time while his underlings are off doing their thing?
And I suppose some of that is the trope of fantasy and superheroes and sci-fi stories, because we love having these villains who, they're just gonna destroy everything! Everything good! You like flowers, they're gone. You like sunlight, it's gone. You like a nice bowl of ice cream, it's gone, because it's evil.
You like friends? Your friends will die!
Although we merged into the oneness.
Again, part of the mysticaliness, you had to have some villain appropriately mystical.
Well, not only that, but if there's no time in the dark dimension, first of all, how do you siphon that off? Second of all, how do you... And then, how can you have decay in a place with no time? How can you have destruction in a place with no time?
But no, that was the point, was that they're... At least, well...
But then you see them decaying. Or were they becoming...
No, that was... They were becoming darkness.
I have a lot of questions for Dormammu.
Yes, and don't worry, he's still out there. I mean,
Don't worry.
Yes, well, seeing an intersection between Dormammu and Thanos, I think that would be exciting to see.
All on that blue-purple scale.
Yes.
Now, I will say, one of the best characters in this was the cape. The cloak. The cloak of levitation. Okay, so... First of all, it leads to one of the most incredible scenes with Doctor Strange, where just like there's a great shot right there. But not only that, the cloak has such a personality. And I asked James whether or not the cloak had a personality in the comics, and apparently
no. The cloak, I mean, it was levitation. It allowed Doctor Strange to fly through different dimensions, through our dimension. And that was pretty much it.
Well, and not only did that, but it very much reminded me of the magic carpet from Aladdin. And I mean this with all respect to the actors. The actors did a phenomenal job, but in some respects...
All of them did, yes.
In some respects, the Cloak of Levitation steals the show. And they get some great humor in there. I will add that sometimes the humor is a little bit jarring. Not that that's a bad thing, but it does kind of go, oh, hello, it's time to be funny. Okay.
Which then again, I'm pretty sure everybody has known that guy who they play the most of their lives a very monotone or within a certain range, and then when they're trying to be funny, they jump out of that range, and it's a little jarring before you realize, oh wait, oh, you're being funny, ha, that you made a funny. I know my roommates told me about that all the time before I developed my sense of humor.
I'm glad I didn't know you then.
Yeah.
Anyway, it was a great movie. Definitely one we will be buying. Definitely one we're going to see again. And I look forward to seeing more of what they're doing with this. It's right up there with my other favorites. Though, in fairness, I mean, I should disclose the Thor movies are some of my favorites in terms of just the mythos that they have created. Captain America's great for stories. I don't know that Doctor Strange beats the Captain America ones for the overall plot and intensity. But I do just love everything else pretty much everything else they've done, except please get your villains. Come on. They deserve stories.
Well, they're due to the groundwork that was laid. There will be.
And again, what is it with green and black? It has nothing to do with the fact that I'm wearing that right now. However, green and black do not automatically equal evil.
And in this case, they didn't either until towards the end. I won't say anything.
Red is a beautiful color. I admit it. It's a gorgeous color, but it is not.
Case in point.
Oh yes, you're gorgeous.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, point being, it was a lot of fun to watch. We're gonna go see it again, adding it to our collection, and yeah, go see it. And yes, it is worth the 3D. So, Thor. Okay.
It is
On
worth
that
full
note, come on,
price
move.
the 3D. That's how good this movie is.
All right. Well, I think that's all for now. But we will talk to you later, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.